Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Micah Parzen, and I am the CEO of the Museum of Us, formerly the San Diego Museum of Man. I'm also the chair of the board of the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership, and we're really happy to have you all here. We have an amazing turnout today, and this is the first of 5 scheduled forums focusing on arts and culture, one for each council position being elected this year, and we hope you'll attend all 5. We appreciate you coming today, and we appreciate the arts and culture group that came together to make this happen, the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership, the San Diego Regional Arts and Culture Coalition, and the Arts and Culture San Diego. Also, thanks to our attendees who've provided a number of questions in advance that we will be asking today. You can submit questions during the forum using the Q&A button. And you're also welcome to chat amongst each other, of course, using the chat feature. But please know that neither of the candidates nor your representatives will be watching the chat in particular today. So let's get right to it. I'd like to ask my 2 fellow representatives, Makeda and Caroline, to introduce yourselves. Makeda, how about you?
Hi, I'm Makeda Cheatham, Executive Director of the World Beat Culture Center right here in Balboa Park. And I've been here for about 30 years. So I'm just gonna, move it on to Carolyn. So you can let us know how great you are too, Carolyn.
Hi there, welcome all. It is great to see so many people here. I'm Caroline Nordquist. I'm at Mingay International Museum in the park. Thanks again for joining us, Stephen, too. We're currently closed for a $50 million renovation, and during our closure, we've actually been at Liberty Station, so it's been really nice to learn more about them as a venue. With our store and cafe, we're hopefully reopening in spring 2021 with an amazing new museum interior. And I'm also on the steering committee of SDRAC and really passionate about advocating for the arts. And I also live in District 3. So thanks all for joining.
Thank you, Makeda and Caroline, for all your wonderful work in the arts and culture community and for being such wonderful partners. Stephen, thank you so much for participating in the forum today. We have a large number of attendees from arts and culture institutions in District 3, and as well as many from around the city. We'd love to give you up to 5 minutes before we start our questions. What would you like to tell everyone about yourself and why you are running for the District 3 seat?
Well, Micah, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this. It's great to be here. It's great to see everyone. And it is an impressive turnout this morning, which just goes to show how important the arts and culture community is and engaged it is in the city, and particularly in District 3. District 3, as many of you know, includes our iconic Balboa Park, which is the hub of so many of our arts and culture institutions. It includes the vibrant neighborhoods all around Balboa Park, and it includes our bustling downtown San Diego. It really is the hub of arts and culture in our city. Of course, we have all the organizations that are headquartered in Balboa Park and downtown, but we also have studios and galleries and performance spaces in every single neighborhood all around District 3. District 3 is also centrally located, so it is a great place from which arts and culture can be shared with other neighborhoods and communities all over our great city. Of course, our city is facing a lot of challenges. Everybody obviously is concerned about COVID-19. It has deeply affected our entire community. Many people have been suffering from sickness. A lot of people are hurting financially, and the arts and culture community is certainly among them. This has been devastating to the arts and culture community. And I certainly think that the city of San Diego, and certainly well under my tenure on the city council, as long as this is going on, make sure that as we provide relief to small businesses and other entities that we're including arts and culture nonprofits among them. I think that's key. Homelessness, as you know, is a major issue in District 3. Unfortunately, District 3 is the epicenter of our homelessness crisis. And for too many years, San Diego did not have a comprehensive plan to address homelessness. Last fall, the City Council adopted a framework, and I'm going to be taking the lead on making sure that we get that fully implemented. The Community Action Plan on Homelessness addresses prevention, it addresses short-term shelter, it addresses long-term permanent supportive housing, all of which we need for our brothers and sisters, many of whom are currently sleeping on the streets. Housing is another issue in District 3 and citywide. It affects the arts and culture community. There are too many people who are struggling to make ends meet in the arts and culture community and everywhere because of the high cost of housing. And not only do people struggle, people leave our city because of it. And particularly within the arts and culture community, people are taking their talents and expertise and creativity to other cities. And one of the things that I'll be doing is working to ensure that we're creating more housing that is affordable to more people. I think that we need to provide tax incentives so that we can create less expensive housing people that all of us can afford. District 3 is an environmental gem in the city of San Diego. Of course, we have Balboa Park, but we also have many canyons in District 3, which are little wildlife preserves in our urban area. We're on San Diego Bay. Air quality is a big issue. We're bisected and surrounded by freeways. We're the transit hub. We need to make sure that we are protecting our air quality. And I haven't even talked about our streets and sidewalks, which need a lot of work in many areas. The city of San Diego is not using the resources from the state as quickly as it's receiving them, and we need to be able to do that. A little bit about my background. The American Red Cross hired me after 9/11 to manage public affairs. So I'm familiar with the disaster environment, which we are very much in right now. I served as the executive director of San Diego Pride for a number of years. I applied for the organization's first grant from the City Commission for arts and culture. So I'm familiar with how that program works and how important it is to all arts and culture organizations. At our festival, we had 5 stages and a broad variety of performances from hip hop to Latin and other things. During my tenure, we got away from the asking of artists to perform for exposure, and we started paying the artists who performed at the festival. You can't really go to Albertsons and bring out a pocket full of exposure. You know, you got to get paid for what you do, and I felt strongly that we needed to do that, and we did. We started an art gallery. We didn't charge the artists to participate in that. Artists were allowed to sell their products and keep all the money from them. We also started the Pride Youth Marching Band, which was something that I was very proud of. More recently, I served as the director of the American Cancer Society in Southern California, managing a $5 million budget. So I'm familiar with the public health landscape that we're dealing with here in San Diego. And in the community, I was the president of the San Diego Democratic Club, which is the LGBT Democratic Club. I also was the vice president of the American Civil Liberties Union of San Diego and Imperial Counties. So when it comes to equity issues and diversity and inclusion, I'm passionate about those. I also served on the North Park Planning Committee, which handles land use for the community. Land use is an important part of what we do in the city, and served on 3 other city committees as well. I'm fortunate to have important endorsements in this race. I'm the endorsed candidate of the Democratic Party. I'm endorsed by the National Union of Healthcare Workers, the San Diego City Firefighters, the Sierra Club, the San Diego Union Tribune endorsed me. And we're going to have to work with the County of San Diego on so many of the things that are important to us, including arts and culture. And the county supervisor who represents this area, Nathan Fletcher, has endorsed me as well. So I hope that during the course of this forum, I have an opportunity to answer your questions and earn your support as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stephen. Really appreciate that. Let's just go ahead and get straight to our questions. But Makeda, we're hoping maybe you can kick us off.
Yes, thank you, Micah. Stephen, you know, the arts all arts organization in San Diego has been really hit with the COVID-19 pandemic. Small businesses got relief, and we all got hit hard. But unlike profit businesses, however, we're unable to access small business recovery fund. When we reemerge from this pandemic, we're going to be devastated and hobble arts organizations and the cultural sector. We're going to be in immediate recovery needs. Who would you support city investment? Would you support city investment or a special recovery fund or something like that for the arts, to assist the arts and culture, creativity sector recovering from COVID-19 shutdown and future reopening, and ensure that funding and recovery plan for small businesses would include nonprofit organizations?
Makeda, that's a great question. And the answer is a resounding yes. As I mentioned, I served as the executive director of San Diego Pride for a number of years, and I was responsible for a multi-million-dollar budget. And we, as a nonprofit, Pride is the nonprofit, had to do everything that a for-profit business would have to do. We had to balance a budget. We had to make ends meet. We had to struggle to bring in income and make sure that our expenditures didn't go over that. We faced the same challenges as any for-profit small business would. And all of your arts and culture related nonprofit organizations do exactly the same thing. The difference is you don't write a check to the IRS every year because of the community benefit you're providing, but in every other respect, you operate as a small business. There is no good reason to exclude arts and culture organizations from the relief that is being provided to other small businesses. And it's essential that we do, because the arts and culture community is responsible for a huge economic impact in San Diego. And if we are going to recover from the economic challenges that we face, it is in the city's best interest to get the arts and culture community up and running as quickly and effectively as possible.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Appreciate that. Caroline, I know that there was a really popular question that came up time and time again from attendees regarding capital reinvestments. Would you mind asking that?
Sure, and I'm sure Stephen's heard this question before. As you know, the city owns a number of arts and culture facilities across the city, amongst them downtown theaters, Liberty Station, buildings, and of course, our beautiful Balboa Park. Many of these facilities have famously significantly deferred maintenance, and their surrounding infrastructure is badly underfunded. We're really interested to know, do you support and will you commit to pushing for the creation of a viable action fund, an action plan to fund Balboa Park infrastructure, as well as increased support for city-owned cultural assets across the city?
The answer is yes. I actually think it's two different plans because we're going to need a plan that is focused specifically on Balboa Park and everything that is entailed in Balboa Park. And we're going to need an action plan that is focused on the arts and culture community and everything that entails. And there is a huge intersection there on the arts and culture community in Balboa Park. But for Balboa Park itself, I mean, not only do you have the arts and cultural institutions that are there, you've got land use issues, you've got governance issues. There's a lot in Balboa Park that has to be addressed right now. And I think we're going to need an action plan for that. In the arts and culture community, obviously we have, we've got to get Penny for the arts back to where it needs to be. It's never been where it needs to be, but we need to get it where it needs to be. And we've got all sorts of other equity issues involving arts and culture, and so on and so forth, recovery issues. So I think it'd be hard to get all of that in one plan. I think that the deferred maintenance, hundreds of millions of dollars of which is located in Balboa Park, is going to have to be a part of both plans. So what I would like to do is, shortly after taking office, really get to work on a Balboa Park action plan, an arts and culture action plan, which is sort of, I think, underway already, and include that deferred maintenance as a part of both of them as we go forward.
Thank you, Stephen. Here's another popular question that came up a lot. As you may know, 4 cents of every dollar of the tourist occupancy tax raised by the city is dedicated to promotion of the city. And in 2012, the City Council passed a resolution called Penny for the Arts. It promised 1 cent of that 4 cent portion would go toward funding support for arts and culture programs and institutions. To date, unfortunately, the funding for arts and culture has fallen way short of that goal. And every year we're forced to engage in a fierce advocacy campaign to secure even a small fraction of that funding that had been promised. So the question that came up is, do you support fully funding the Penny for the Arts culture plan, which is a 9.52% of the TOT, as you likely know? And would you support an ordinance that clearly defines a maximum 4-year phased-in timeline and makes Penny for the Arts a certain part of the budget process rather than being treated as a sort of loose guideline as it currently is?
I do. I think that we need to fully fund the Penny for the Arts for a number of reasons. The arts are critical to San Diego in any number of areas. You know, obviously, quality of life. It's important for people's development, people's expression and creativity. All the reasons that most people get into arts and culture organizations and arts and culture itself. But there's also the ancillary benefit of arts and culture in our community in that it is very cost effective from an economic standpoint. And the last thing that you want to do in an economic crisis like we have right now is fail to fully fund the things that can help to reinvigorate your economy. I'm sure many of you have done economic impact analyses of your organizations. And we did one at San Diego Pride. You know, our budget was, you know, somewhere around $2 million, but the economic impact was, I think at the time, something like $11 million, if I recall correctly. I mean, you know, so we were really contributing to the economy. Many of your organizations, you know, contribute as much or more or whatever it is. It's adding to the economy. It's providing jobs. It's bringing people into San Diego. It's educating our youth. It's engaging people's minds. So yes, you can count on me to absolutely ensure that we're fully funding the Penny for the Arts, and we need to do so in a way that is akin to the way we're committed to the Climate Action Plan, for instance. You see the nonprofit community really hold the City Council's feet to the fire on the Climate Action Plan. It's fallen a little behind its goals, but you hear a lot about it when it does. And I would expect that you will hold my feet to the fire, not that you're going to have to very much, but the council's fire in general, to make sure that we get that done, and I will.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. One of the things we'd love to get out of a commitment from the candidates is that they will always include achieving and maintaining Penny for Arts and Culture as a top priority in all budget discussions and initial and revised budget memoranda. Is that a commitment we could get from you, Stephen?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, I think I speak for everybody when I say that all of us are looking forward to finding ways of securing sustainable funding in the arts and culture community. So we're grateful for your commitment. Current events, of course, are on everybody's mind and have been an influence on a number of the questions that we received from attendees prior to the forum. Makeda, would you kick us off into the next question?
Stephen, as a part of the mayor's commitment to the city of San Diego that works for all, the commission has made great strides to ensure that the resources it manages are distributed in an equitable manner. To support this, the Commission has launched a diversity, equity, and inclusion assessment, a three-part initiative to assess our successes and deficits, and ensure that the Commission is equipped to provide public sector work within the city's diverse communities. Now, how would you work with the Commission to ensure that access, equity, and diversity remain a priority for the neighborhoods in our community? How would you do that?
I think we're gonna have to establish metrics and goals to really make sure that we accomplish that. And I'm committed to doing that. I mean, I mentioned when I spoke about my background with the American Civil Liberties Union and other organizations that are committed to social and economic and racial justice. And those continue to be huge priorities of mine. I was a strong supporter of the recent adoption and creation of an office on race and equity at the city of San Diego, because we need to undo the vestiges of institutional racism that are, throughout our city. Arts and culture is an area where we need to make sure that it is accessible and available and provided to every community. We talked about a plan, an arts and culture plan. And I know this Commission for Arts and Culture is putting something like that together. I think that one of the things that we're going to have to do is, or that I would like to see us do, is really adopt that on a city council level in the same way that we adopted a climate action plan, in the same way that we adopted a community action plan on homelessness. And those have annual metrics that have to be met. And I think that if we set metrics that have to do with equity and accessibility as part of that plan, then we can measure how we're doing against them and make sure that we're achieving our goals.
Thanks, Makeda and Stephen. We're starting to run out of time a little bit, but we've got a bit more opportunity here with you. So thank you for that. There's a further question I'd like to address, and it's really a structural one from the city. And then we'll see if we can fit in more questions from attendees. I hope we will. San Diego, of course, has an incredibly diverse, culturally and historically rich arts and culture community, but it really lacks the level of engagement and support from the city that many other world-class cities have enjoyed in terms of realizing our potential. Right now, there's an effort to create planning and engagement from the city to foster the strength of arts and culture and the creative community through a cultural plan and a cultural affairs department that would ensure that that kind of planning is implemented. Would you support the creation of a cultural affairs department and the development of a citywide cultural plan that would truly elevate arts and culture as an industry that's critical to economic health and also the quality of life in San Diego?
I absolutely support the creation of an arts and culture plan. I think it's the best and oftentimes only way to get things done. Unless you put together a comprehensive plan with goals and metrics and a timeline to get things accomplished and a funding schedule to make sure that the money is there to fund the action that has to happen, things don't get done. I mean, I don't think that we're going to be successful in piecemealing so many of the big priorities that we have in San Diego. We need big plans. And we've seen how they could be effective with the climate action plan. We've seen how, with the community action plan on homelessness, I think we're going to make progress there. So yes, we need one for arts and culture. As to the department, I'm interested in that conversation. I don't know how the department would interface necessarily with the Commission for Arts and Culture, but we will need a structure that will be able to effectively implement the arts and culture that we need in the city of San Diego if we're going to become the great city that we have the potential to be. Cities around the world and across history have been judged on their commitment to arts and culture, and I would like to see San Diego be one of those great cities.
Excellent. Thank you for that. It looks like we've got a little bit of time for maybe a question or two. Some great questions are coming up from the attendees live. Caroline, I wonder if you might want to pick one or two of those, and Stephen can field them.
Sure. We have a question here. For the past few years, District 3 council members have assigned a team member to be a liaison between the council member's office and Balboa Park. And these reps have historically been white. What is your commitment to hiring people of color in part of your team and ultimately providing that as a liaison for Balboa Park?
Well, judge me on what I've done. When I was at San Diego Pride, I had a staff that was majority people of color and majority women. In my current campaign, when we hired a field staff that helped us to win the primary, we had a majority staff that was people of color. So I think that what you'll see is a staff at the City Council that reflects our community. And I think it's entirely possible that the person who is assigned to really engage and serve as the liaison with arts and culture in Balboa Park would be a person of color. I mean, I have no idea who that would be or what that would look like at this point, but what I would say is historically, my teams have reflected the community, and it will at City Council as well.
Thank you. Micah, would you like me to ask another question? We had a question about the funding source for Balboa Park. Steve, you'd mentioned, Stephen, that you were supportive of funding infrastructure. We had a couple of questions from guests here. What do you consider is a good funding mechanism to fund those capital improvements at Balboa Park?
Sure.
Where's the money coming from, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, as everybody knows, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in deferred maintenance that we need for Balboa Park and other needs in Balboa Park and cultural institutions citywide. So I think the tourism occupancy tax is the hotel tax is one place that we really have to look. San Diego has a lower tourism occupancy tax than many comparable cities in California. And what that means is that when we go to other cities in California and nationwide, we're contributing more to their cities' economies through their hotel tax than all those other people are contributing when they come to San Diego. Well, if we even that out and ask people who come to San Diego to simply pay San Diego what they pay other cities when they visit other cities, then that's going to provide a lot of funding. So I think there's some real opportunities in the tourism occupancy tax. I've tossed around the idea of a bond for Balboa Park. I still think that that's a possibility. In this environment, though, I think that's a struggle. So I think at this point, tourism occupancy tax is where we're going to be most likely to find the funding that we need to accomplish the things that we need to do. And that's appropriate because so much of the use of our cultural institutions in Balboa Park is from people who are tourists.
Makeda, I think you may have a question in the mix that from the attendees that you want to highlight.
Was jobless, housing, support of the arts seemed to be really lower at the list. How would you change this attitude? Because I know the arts look like, oh, what's the art? It's homelessness. It's so many devastating things. How would you change, Stephen, that attitude? Because the arts are essential for health.
And changing the attitude, I think maybe you're referring to the sense that it's one of the first things that gets cut when we have a budget challenge or something along those lines. So there's any number of reasons why we need to elevate arts and culture to the level of our other top priorities in the city of San Diego. And it is true. I mean, you see time and time again when people want to make cuts on the budget, they'll, fail to fund Penny for the Arts the way that it ought to be funded. I think that's really short-sighted, and it's short-sighted in a number of ways. First of all, arts and culture provides a tremendous educational and developmental opportunity to people across the city. That's important for our future. We need arts and culture for the quality of life. But I also, in this environment, keep coming back to the fact that we are facing, economic catastrophe. And when you're in this situation, I mean, it's true anytime, but particularly in this situation, you really want to maximize the sources of additional income, particularly external income that you can generate. So by fully funding, by investing in the Penny for the Arts, by investing in arts and culture, what you're really doing is you're investing in economic growth of the city. And that's the one way we're going to be able to dig our way out of this hole. So arts and culture is valuable and essential for all sorts of reasons, but let's face it, it's important economically as well. So I'll be the last person to cut arts and culture.
Wonderful to hear, Stephen. Thank you for addressing all these questions. I know this is a conversation that we'd all love to continue, and hopefully we'll have other opportunities prior to the election. But we are running up against the clock a bit, and just wanted to give you an opportunity, having heard the questions that have emerged from attendees today. We'd like to give you the floor of up to 5 minutes to share anything else with your constituents here that may not have come up or you may not have already shared.
Well, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the questions. And I think some of the challenges that the arts and culture community have historically faced around funding, in many cases have to do with a lack of appreciation of many people for what really goes into it, a lack of appreciation for how it really advances people's lives and education and development, and particularly a lack of understanding of how it advances our economy. Like I said, was the executive director of San Diego Pride. It's a cultural organization. There are all sorts of different forms of the arts and culture in San Diego. All of them are contributing to the economy in one way or the other. And I think that we need to respect that. I think we need to respect the fact that arts and culture is a profession. I certainly did when I was at San Diego Pride. I mean, historically, we see so many different performance venues inviting artists to participate for the exposure. And like I said, I mean, exposure is great, but I mean, this is something that people are doing and doing well and doing it professionally and doing it to make a living. And we need to respect people's economic vitality and needs along with the contributions that they're making to our society. So I feel as though having worked in this arena professionally as the executive director of a cultural institution, I have some understanding of what needs to happen, some understanding of what goes into this, and a really large appreciation for what arts and culture contributes to our community and the potential that it has to contribute vastly more than it currently does. And as the council member for District 3, who represents Central San Diego, I will have a real opportunity to help ensure that we're fully funding and fully respecting and fully advancing arts and culture in San Diego. And I'd be grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. We really appreciate your commitment to our work and understanding of what a challenging time this is for arts and culture organizations and the role it plays in really being the lifeblood of our community in a whole slew of ways. that go beyond the obvious. So thank you for that. We hope to continue these discussions with you and wish you the best of luck. I want to thank you for your participation. In addition to Makeda and Caroline, thank you for your questions and being here today. And also all of you in the audience. We're over 170 folks at this point, and it really is a testament to the importance of the work that all of our organizations are doing in these critically important areas for how do we emerge out of this pandemic as a better version of ourselves. So thank you so much. Thank you, Stephen. We'll see you soon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, everyone.